is a beautiful thing. It grows to the quiver of a fife that sings. I can take it with the wave of my hand and place it upon my music stand. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing.
Thank you all for joining us. Happy to be here. Right now I want to thank all the people who are watching this as a prepared video. And we post my videos on a variety of platforms. We post them on YouTube, and we post them on BitChute, post them on Rumble, and lately I've started posting them on Twitter, the full videos on Twitter. So there's any number of ways, and please subscribe. Whatever way you're watching this video, please subscribe and leave comments that you'd be guided to share. I'd love to hear from all of you, whatever you thought, positive or negative, about any of the things that I have to share. I also want to give a pitch to joining the Community Miracle Center's healing team. We currently have 56 members on the healing team, and receive that inspirational email from us every day, something original I write every day about healing and transformation, but it also contains the current prayer healing list, so it gives us an opportunity to practice our one function here, which is healing the Holy Child of God, and to be able to practice that with a group of dedicated A Course in Miracles students in an organized fashion, that's just an awesome thing. So as I said, I am happy to be here. As many of you know, last week I was in Memphis, Tennessee at the Libertarian Conference Freedom Fest Memphis. And I and Dusalthea, who was there with me, we had a great time. It was a great conference, and Memphis was a great place to visit. I got to hear in person two of the candidates who are running for president. I got to hear Vivek Ramaswamy, and that's how you pronounce his name, Vivek. He schooled us in that. It rhymes with cake. It's Vivek. It's not Vivek. So Vivek Ramaswamy, he's running for the Republican nomination. He's a young entrepreneur, 37-year-old, first generation of Indian immigrant parents, or I guess maybe you call that second generation. And he was very fascinated. And we also got to hear Robert Kennedy Jr., who's running for the nomination for the Democratic president candidacy. And he was great. And it was just wonderful to hear those people in person. They both had very interesting things to say. And I'm thinking of just, what a unique thing it is that we do here at Community Miracle Center, because freedom of speech was one of the things talked about a lot at this Freedom Fest convention. And in our own little way, Community Miracle Center presents a unique platform that celebrates freedom of speech, because after the minister speaks, we open it up and the congregation gets a chance to talk. And I don't know any other church or Sunday gathering that really promotes the congregation to speak right out in the way that we do here. So it is a great thing. Now, I was talking to a member a couple of weeks ago, and there had been a little controversy in the discussion time. And this person was expressing her discomfort with the controversy. And she was talking about, what we might do, and maybe we just need to avoid controversial subjects. I don't know how to avoid controversial subjects. What is controversial is that we allow a free speech discussion after the talk. If you really want to make sure you don't have any controversy, just squelch the free speech and don't allow anybody to talk afterwards. That would do it, but that's not something that we want to do. So when speech is free and people are discussing and you give everybody a platform, sometimes people say things you don't like or you feel uncomfortable about hearing, But that is what free speech is all about. And that's what the Community Miracle Center is all about. We've always had this open discussion after our Sunday gathering for as long as we have been meeting. I'm not going to stop the discussion. Okay, the title of my talk today, Miracles Heal the Body. Tell me why I'm wrong. As long as I've been an A Course in Miracles student, there has been this debate going on in the Course in Miracles community, and it still goes on. And the debate is, do miracles heal the body? And the form that this takes is that if you're in a discussion and any mention about the body being healed is countered by a certain group of Course in Miracles students with the idea that miracles are not about the healing of the body. Only the mind can be sick, so only the mind can be healed. And to focus at all on the body, even to mention the body, is a focus on it, and that is somehow an error. And I have always reacted kind of negatively to that discussion, and have done my best over the 36 and a half years of my tenure as the executive minister at Community Miracle Center to counter that discussion. That I don't think that's what A Course in Miracles is actually saying. Now, A Course in Miracles has many, many references to the body being healed. It talks about the body being healed a lot. I could pull up, I don't know, hundreds, but let's just do a couple. Thus is the body healed by miracles, because they show the mind made sickness and employed the body to be victim or effect of what it made. So that's a great statement there, because it clears up any confusion. The body is healed by miracles because it's the mind that's manifesting the body. And so when you correct the mind, the body naturally reflects that correction. Now, people say that, well, by mentioning the body, you're focusing on the body, you're expecting the body to be healed, and you got to remember it's a mind-only experience. They say only the mind is capable of error. It's a mind-only experience. I've referred to these people by an acronym, just MOE or MO people, because mind-only experience. They're so conditioned to say that they almost will not allow you to say anything about the body. But the Course in Miracles is always saying something about the body. Here's another one. Now is the body healed, because the source of sickness has been open to relief. So again, many, many passages that do reference the body. Obviously, Jesus in A Course in Miracles isn't avoiding mentioning the body. So I don't think he's confused about the healing. And I believe that the miracle-only experience people, the Mo people, of course, they know that the Course says this. And they have to have a way of justifying what the Course says against what they believe, which is that it's a mind-only experience. So what they will frequently say is all these times in A Course in Miracles where it's talking about the body being healed, that they're all just symbols, or it's a symbolic discussion, or it's a metaphoric discussion, or these statements are all metaphors. And, I've heard this discussion, again, going on in Course in Miracles community for decades, and I don't buy it, and there's several reasons why I don't buy it, and the one that I'd like to point out right now is it's a misuse of the word metaphor. That is not actually what a metaphor is. Dictionary definition: metaphor, a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which it is literally inapplicable. So that's what metaphors are. Obvious. They're obvious figures of speech. Let's give an example. I ran down the street a bat out of hell. Okay, or I drove down the street a bat out of hell. Okay, everybody knows that I'm not a bat. And everybody knows that I'm not escaping from hell. It's a metaphor. It's an obvious symbolic metaphor. That's what a metaphor is. Saying, thus now is the body healed, is not a metaphor. Saying, thus is the body healed, is not a metaphor. That's just a simple statement. You can accept it as true. You can think it's not true. But to say it's just a symbolic representation of something and it isn't literally true is just a misuse of the word metaphor. And, A Course in Miracles, I do not believe, is talking in code. It's not being obscure and abstract about what it's saying. It's being clear. And it says as much. It says, you have surely begun to realize that this is a very practical course, which means exactly what it says. The course means exactly what it says. Jesus means exactly what he is saying to us. How do you justify statements like that it means exactly what it says? Well, I guess then you have to say, well, that it too is a metaphor. It doesn't really mean exactly what it says. That's a metaphor. For what? I don't know. It's a form of convoluted thinking here that is just kind of irrational. If the Course itself saying that it means exactly what it says is a metaphor and that it doesn't actually mean what it says, I mean, how can you function in that kind of realm? That's just absurd. That's like the congressional committee that met last week to have a discussion on censorship wanting to censor Robert Kennedy Jr. That's just like kind of ridiculous, isn't it? Censor your key speaker in a committee that's going to be talking about censorship. The irony of that, I think, struck actually a lot of people. So I challenge all Course in Miracles students everywhere to really relate to the body healing statements as literal. They literally mean it. And I relate to them that way. And if you don't, well then, during the discussion, tell me why you think I'm wrong. I'll listen to you. We have a free speech platform here. I'll listen to you. This idea of listening to people on the opposite side of the spectrum was expressed really brilliantly at this conference I went to in Memphis. And it was expressed by a man, maybe some of you know this man. His name is Daryl Davis. Daryl Davis is a blues musician. He's a blues keyboardist. And he's, relatively famous, for in the blues field. But he also has something else he's famous for. He's an African-American black man. He's famous for befriending and talking to people in the Ku Klux Klan and really listening to what they have to say. And it all started because somebody from the Klan happened to one of his performances and really liked him, and they started talking. And the man at one point told him, I've never heard a black blues musician before. And he was sort of incredulous, and he talked to us, and the man said, I'm a member of the Ku Klux Klan. So he became friendly through music with this member of the Ku Klux Klan. But he started a real odyssey where he goes in the Klan meetings and just listens to everything they have to say. And then he invites them to his house and to listen to things they have to say. And he has become friends with many, many of these people in the Ku Klux Klan. He has great stories that he tells. I've heard him speak several times. He even became such a friend to one of the leaders, one of the grand wizards of the Ku Klux Klan, that this man asked him to give his daughter away at his daughter's wedding. I'm sorry, it was her son's wedding, but to give the bride away at his son's wedding because the bride's father was unable to do it. So he got to be part of a wedding party for this Klansman and this bride. So he actually has been able to get many of the people to eventually shift the way they think and drop out of the Klan. But that's not his agenda. His agenda is really just to go into the Klan and listen to them and invite them to listen to him and to keep the avenues of communication open. It's another wonderful demonstration of why free speech is so important. Keep the avenues of communication open. Have an open mind when listening to people who have different points of view. Have an open mind when listening to people in the Course in Miracles community who have different points of view. Sometimes people really react strongly, negatively to things that I say. All I ask is have an open mind, take it in, let me hear what you think. Nobody has to think the way I think, but I share how I think. I think it's probably valuable to listen to it, but I'm happy to listen to how you think and give you the opportunities to share that too. You know, the journey to healing has many levels. So at the highest level, maybe there's the physical healing, the healing of the sick, raising the dead level. There are maybe earlier levels. I mean, one of the levels of healing the sick is just being able to be at peace and centered, regardless of what's going on with your body. I mean, that's a level of healing. That's an important level of healing. And I certainly acknowledge that being able to be at peace with whatever is going on, not just with your body, but even with the world as a whole. I mean, I do it all the time. I have to be at peace regardless of who gets elected president of the United States, even though I have favorite candidates that I might like to see get elected. They almost never do. And I know that I can be at peace with whomever is president because I can be at peace regardless of whatever is going on. So that's the first level of healing for me. But there's a higher level of healing, and I aim for that higher level of healing. I want freedom to exist all over, certainly my country, but all over the world. I want free speech to be available and championed all over the world. I want bodies to be healed all over the world. And I want healing the sick and raising the dead to be my goal. I have high expectations. I'm aiming high with my goals. And this really dates back to my very first experience with A Course in Miracles. My very first experience with A Course in Miracles 40 plus years ago, like 42 years ago, was a friend handing me the book, and I looked at it and I was reading it. She gave me some time just to read it for a few minutes, and I got to page number 2 and miracle principle number 24, which was miracles enable man to heal the sick and raise the dead because he made sickness and death himself and can abolish both. Okay, so that was on page number 2. I'd probably been reading for less than 10 minutes at that time, and I saw what a bold goal this was for a spiritual discipline. And I had the thought immediately, I'm in. And anybody that wants to any spiritual discipline that wants to aim that high, I'm gonna give it a shot. That's great. So I've always had these high expectations about what A Course in Miracles is really about. So if you ask me, why do I engage with A Course in Miracles? Why have I been an avid student of it for 42, 43 years? Is it because I want peace? Not really. I mean, if peace comes, that's great. But I'm not doing it for peace. Is it because I want better relationships? Well, no, not really. If better relationships come, that's great. I'm not doing it for better relationships. Is it because I want experiences of oneness and revelation and feeling joined with divinity? Experiences of enlightenment? No. I mean, if those experiences come, I'm happy to accept them. But that's not why I'm doing it. That's not my purpose. My purpose of studying A Course in Miracles is so that I can heal the sick and raise the dead. That's why I'm studying it. I want that miracle working ability. I found all of my practice of A Course in Miracles at that level. And that's why I went to Freedom Fest Memphis, because I want to explore the healing of our country. I think our country, the United States of America, needs a little healing right around now with all of these things that are going on. And I want a broader way to talk to people about some of the issues that are in A Course in Miracles. I especially want to be able to talk to people in the secular community, people who aren't necessarily religious. So I found that people who aren't necessarily religious, almost all people relate to the idea of freedom, though. And freedom is a very, very strong idea in A Course in Miracles. You know, I've had a couple conversations now with more than one person who believe that talking about freedom is controversial, that it's politically divisive. Talking about freedom is politically divisive? Really? I guess I'm going to be politically divisive. I mean, the truth is, if you do a search in A Course in Miracles for the word freedom or freely or free or some derivation of the word freedom, it's mentioned 511 times. That's a lot. And then there's related words. I mean, anytime the Course in Miracles talks about prison, it's probably really talking about freedom. Prison or imprison is 54 times. Slave is another word, or enslave. That's really about freedom, and that's 30 times. So, I mean, you got almost 600 times that A Course in Miracles is talking about freedom. And you're going to avoid talking about freedom because it's too politically divisive? How can you be in A Course in Miracles student and not talk about freedom? And if you think about it, now everybody's pretty willing to talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is mentioned 537 times. So freedom and forgiveness are mentioned just about the same amount. And I hear a lot of A Course in Miracles people talk about forgiveness. I hear very few of them ever talk about freedom. But I find that freedom is just a wonderful little wedge that you can get in there and start talking about some great spiritual truths. Freedom is a great thing. And freedom has been a great thing, all throughout my life. I'm a child of the 60s. I came of age in the 60s, and I thought deeply in the 60s about many things, but I certainly thought deeply in the 60s about freedom. And I want to quote something that came out of the 60s. This is actually a quote from Robert Kennedy Sr., the father of the presidential candidate that I saw last week. And he said this: every time we turn our heads the other way, when we see the law flouted, when we tolerate what we know to be wrong, when we close our eyes and ears to the corrupt because we are too busy or too frightened, when we fail to speak out, we strive a blow against freedom, decency, and justice. That was Robert Kennedy Jr. Robert Kennedy Sr. So, I speak out. I speak out about things. And, if something is potentially controversial, it's okay. Because that kind of speech, that kind of free speech, is what heals things. The blues musician didn't agree with the things that the Klansmen were saying, but he listened to them. And because he listened to them, they in turn listened to him. And relationship was created, and a relationship was formed. I know in my heart of hearts, because of guidance and connection with Spirit, that miracles heal the body. And I know that we're supposed to be focused on that and think about that. And it is talked about over and over again. And I know that it's wrong, at least for me, to avoid that discussion just because that discussion is sometimes controversial for some people, or that it causes conflict. I am not conflict averse. I'm willing to be in the middle of conflict because, as Robert Kennedy Sr. there says, that's what we have to do. Because if we don't do that, we strike a blow against freedom, decency, and justice. And we don't want to do that. I certainly don't want to do that. So I believe we should really approach A Course in Miracles as a very practical thing that heals the body. And that heals not only our physical bodies, but heals the body that is the world, and the body politic, and the body that is society. Miracles heal all the bodies, everything. And we need not to be conflict averse. The statement there by Robert Kennedy Sr. was what it was about. It's about not being conflict averse, being willing to engage in things that might be controversial and might create conflict, because if we don't, that's how all freedom is lost. That's how totalitarianism happens. And I think there's a discussion going on right now that would behoove all of us to be involved in. And we are free to discuss it here. A Course in Miracles says that if we don't really feel that we have a way to escape sickness and physical pain, basically we're enslaved. It says, "For he who has escaped all fear of future pain has found a way to present peace and certainty of care the world can never threaten." So we have to really be able, because of our study of A Course in Miracles, to rest in a confidence that we can live a life free of the fear of future pain. That's what A Course in Miracles is trying to bring about into our minds. And that's the miracle that I'm working towards, and I've made great strides with. We need that confidence and mastery that we can heal world conditions and bodily conditions. And if we don't have that confidence, we're enslaved. The Course says, as long as a single slave remains to walk the earth, your release is not complete. Complete restoration of the sonship is the only goal of the miracle-minded. One slave walking around the world is one slave too many. And it doesn't matter how that slavery is being manifested. There's a new film out now that I'm sure many of you have heard of called The Sound of Freedom. It's about child sex slavery or sex trafficking. And now that has become controversial. Like it's discredited, it's a QAnon conspiracy and all of that. It's really kind of amusing, really, that whole discussion has started, considering it's all based on a true experience, and the person that it actually is based on is, going around talking about his experience. And it's a very well-made movie. Anyway, Ducelthi and I saw it last week, and really liked it. I really encourage people to see it. I think somebody is trying to heal something here, and the fact that they're trying to heal it, I want to support them. And what they want people to do is to see the movie, to heighten awareness. And it's a really well-made movie. It's a classic, really, Hollywood film. It's about, a hero that has to buck the system to rescue people, or to rescue children. And he does rescue a lot of children. It's really great. So for those who think they can't afford it, they've set up a very interesting pay-it-forward system. So you can just go to their website, angel.com. That's real easy to remember, isn't it? Angel.com. And you can scroll down, and there's a place where you can get a free ticket. No questions asked, just a free ticket for the movie playing in your area. And these are made available by people who've seen the movie, and at the end of the movie, they make a pitch for you to pay it forward. In other words, for you to buy a ticket in a certain way that puts a ticket in the bank for somebody else to see. And this whole way of funding a film and getting people to go see a film is really unique and masterful. So I encourage people to see it and support the healing that is going on, because it's a healing about ending slavery. And as long as a single slave remains to walk the earth, none of our releases are complete. There's all kinds of slavery, and I think we should be working towards freedom. As I said, Course in Miracles continually states that the body is healed, and living in the slavery of the fear of future sickness and pain is a core thing that A Course in Miracles is here to counteract. One last quote about the body being healed. His dreams are happy and his rest secure, his safety certain, and his body healed, because he sleeps and wakens with the truth before him always. Yes, A Course in Miracles, I believe, firmly and clearly states that it's working towards bodily healing, freedom of sickness, heal the sick and raise the dead. I believe it means it. I believe it means it literally. I believe that freedom is as important as forgiveness. We are not free if we are living in fear of future pain. I say embrace that goal. Embrace that heal the sick, raise the dead goal. It's not too much for us. It is what I believe the discipline is about. And if you believe differently, tell me why I'm wrong. It's free speech here. I'll listen to you. Okay, thank you. That's our talk for today.
A flower is a beautiful thing. It grows to the quiver of a fife that sings. I can take it with the wave of my hand and place it upon my music stand. Such a beautiful thing.